Hey everybody, welcome back to Miss Hoffman's group. We are going to work on story grammar. Just like what grammar can be the parts of a sentence or parts of speech, today we're going to talk about the parts of a story. And I'm going to fill out, the title is The Dinner Party. We started this story the last time we talked when we were looking for words with oi in the middle of the word spelled O-I. And now we're going to look at the parts of that same story called The Dinner Party. We're going to begin by looking at the setting of the story. When we talk about the setting of the story, we're looking for a time or when, and we're looking for a place or where the story takes place. And if you look, I've gone through and I've highlighted some clues from the text. In the first paragraph, to the store last week, on the day of the party, to join her at her home at 6 o'clock. So that tells me that the time is on the day of the party. Yes, it talked about the store last week, but the store last week is only mentioned in one paragraph. The rest of the story talks about the dinner party at her home. So the story takes place on the day of her party about 6 p.m. at night in her home. And that lets me build in my mind a picture of someone's home and a person who is planning a party. Now, we're going to look at the characters. And when we read stories, they're different from informational text and articles because stories have people or animals as characters. They're the who of the story. So now I'm going to go and look at my text evidence for who is in the story. And we see right away we have Patty. And we know that Patty is a girl because it says she. We see where Patty is putting things with tinfoil and broiling and heating some oil in a pan. And that's letting me know that she's cooking. And I'm thinking that if Patty is going to all the trouble to cook the dinner party, she must like to cook. So one thing that I know about Patty is she cooks. That gives me a clue about her. Patty couldn't wait for her dinner pals. I know she's excited. I know that she has friends, so she's probably a very nice person because she has friends. And at the bottom, I see where she felt proud. She had never broiled a sirloin dinner in a broiler. She tried something new. I know she's brave because she tried something new, and it's kind of scary when you try something new. Let me spell that. Tried a new way to cook. So I can say she's brave because she tried something new. Her pals were excited to find out what was hidden under the foil. She surprised them, and she surprised them with a pineapple upside down cake. Now, pals. Pals is another name for friends. So we also have other characters in the story besides Patty, her friends. And we know that her friends were there and that they were excited and that they liked the meal because the story tells us. So we know the friends came to eat. And that gives me a clue about her friends. Now, the next part of my story, or element of my story, is when we look at the beginning, and this is where there's a problem or initiating event. Initiate means to start. So when I'm looking right here for a problem or initiating event, I'm looking at how we will find something to begin. Okay, so initiating means beginning event. And notice it says event. So we're looking for an action at the start. And Problem means something goes wrong. Sometimes it's a problem, and sometimes it's just a situation. And if we look up here, Patty is planning to get things for a dinner party. So we know she's planning a dinner party. We know that she's cooking to get ready for the dinner party. And then down here, we see where she couldn't wait for her dinner pals. So my action at the start was Patty planned and got ready for a dinner party. And that's the start. Also note, though, she was excited. She couldn't wait. Look at the word couldn't. We're talking about couldn't. There's a negative in there. The word not is called a negative. And it's saying that something could not happen. What could not happen was she could not wait. So the problem or the situation or the scenario that we're looking at here is that she couldn't wait. That's going to be the problem part or the situation. Now that I'm looking at that, I'm going to go and look at the middle of the story, and this is where the characters attempt or try to solve the problem. How does Patty try to solve the problem for waiting? Well, we see that the problem is solved when at 6 o'clock, Patty's pals came over. And they all talked for a while, and then they sat down to eat. So the character's attempt was Patty's friends, remember friends and pals mean the same thing, Patty's friends arrived and they tried Patty's dinner. Now, we don't know what they think about the dinner yet. This is the second part of the middle. In the middle, there's two middles of a story. The climax, or the resolution, is where the characters solve or fix or come to a way where the situation is resolved and everybody's kind of ready to go with that. And so when we're looking here for resolution of the problem or fix of the problem or solution of the problem, we're going to come look at the other part of the middle. And here, at one point, Patty's best pal, Sally, said, "This sirloin is so tender and moist. What a great meal." Let's think about that for a minute. Moist. Moist is when something's not dry, but it's not damp. It's kind of in between. And sirloin, we talked about in our other lesson when we were looking at oi words, is a kind of meat. And sometimes when we eat meat, it can be very dry and almost have kind of a sawdust feeling to it. And here we see where Patty's best pal, Sally, says what a great meal because she liked the tender sirloin and the moist sirloin. So right here, the solution or the fix was Sally liked Patty's meal because she said the sirloin was tender and moist. So we made the inference that Sally liked the meal because she said it was tender and moist. We also see where Travis commented on the peppers and chicken. And we know that when someone comments on peppers and chicken or someone comments on a meal, especially to a friend, it's usually to say something nice. So we know that Travis commented on the peppers and chicken. So what? That's what we're talking about when we get to the end or the conclusion. The end or the conclusion is the so what. And that's so what? What happened? Why do we care? They fixed the problem, big deal. Why should I care that they fixed the problem? And so when you think about the conclusion, that is your so what? Why do I care as a reader? Well, if Sally and Travis both commented on the meal and said that the sirloin was tender and the peppers and chicken were good, and we look down and we read at the very end, it says, what a wonderful meal they had. So what? We can infer that Patty's friends liked the meal that Patty cooked. And now that we're finished, we have a story map. And if you look at the colors, we can see how the text evidence helps us identify the parts of a story so that we can identify the story structure. And by now that we know that the story structure, when the time comes and our teacher gives us some practice questions for the test, we'll be able to use what we know about the structure of a story and narrative text or narrative writing to be able to answer those questions. So, thank you for joining me today with our story grammar, story elements lesson, and we will keep going next time to answer some questions. Thanks, guys.